I worked double shifts for 2 years to buy my dream car. My girlfriend laughed with her friends, calling it cheap and embarrassing. Last week, I pulled up next to them, in the same car they were begging to ride in. I'm Alex, 27 years old, male. Right now, I'm sitting in my apartment staring at the keys to the one thing I've wanted since I was 16. A bright red Dodge Challenger. Not the top trim, not the Hellcat, not the showroom perfect collector's edition. Just a solid, honest-to-God muscle car that I could finally call mine. It took me 2 years of double shifts at the factory, living off ramen, patching my boots with duct tape, skipping nights out with friends just so I could put away every extra dollar. I worked until my hands were raw, until my back felt twice my age. And last spring, I signed the papers, handed over that down payment, and drove off the lot grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. But the first person I showed it to, the person I thought would get it, who would be proud of me, was my girlfriend, Marissa, 25, female. We'd been together almost 3 years at that point. She was the one who used to tell me I was so responsible for saving money, the one who said she admired how I stuck to my goals. I figured she'd be excited to finally see what I'd been working toward. Instead, she laughed. Not like a giggle or a surprised laugh, this ugly, mean cackle. She said, "That's it? You worked yourself half to death for that? God, it's so cheap looking. It's embarrassing." Those words have been echoing in my head ever since. Cheap. Embarrassing. I tried brushing it off at first, but she didn't just say it once. She repeated it in front of her friends, too. One night, I was in the kitchen grabbing beers for everyone, and I heard her, clear as day, telling them how I was obsessed with this low-rent wannabe sports car. They all laughed, like it was the funniest thing in the world that I'd busted my ass for something that didn't meet their standard of luxury. That crushed me in a way I didn't expect. Because this wasn't just a car. It was years of sacrifice, of skipping things normal people my age enjoy. It was proof I could set a goal and hit it, even if the world told me I couldn't. And she reduced it to a punchline. The worst part? I kept dating her. I told myself she didn't mean it, that maybe she just didn't understand. But deep down, I knew. She wasn't laughing because she didn't get it. She was laughing because she did. And last week, something happened that flipped everything on its head. I was driving downtown after work, windows down, engine rumbling, when I spotted her on the sidewalk with two of her girlfriends. They were dressed up, heels clicking against the pavement, clearly waiting for someone to pick them up. As I slowed at the light, I saw them lean in close to each other, talking fast, scanning traffic like hawks. Then I caught it. They were waiting for a ride. In my exact car. The same Challenger, same trim, same color, that some guy down the block must have been driving Uber with. And when I rolled up, engine purring, they all turned. The look on Marissa's face when she realized it was me behind the wheel? Worth every single overtime hour. She went pale, her friends went wide-eyed, and for once not a single laugh left her mouth. I didn't stop. I just revved it hard enough to rattle the street signs and watch them stumble back, clutching their purses. And for the first time since she mocked me, I felt proud again. The second I drove past Marissa and her friends that night, my chest was buzzing. Not just from the engine, but from this strange mix of pride and fury. I'd finally gotten a glimpse of something I didn't realize I was starving for. Her silence. No mocking, no sneer, just that stunned, pale look as her cheap and embarrassing boyfriend pulled up in the very car she'd been hoping to climb into. I thought maybe that'd be it. A moment of poetic justice. But of course, Marissa doesn't do silence for long. That night, my phone lit up with 12 missed calls, 3 voicemails, and a flood of texts. Seriously? You just had to flex like that? It was rude as hell. You embarrassed me in front of my friends. You're so insecure about that car, it's pathetic. Pathetic. Another knife. I didn't reply. I just left my phone buzzing on the dresser and laid in bed staring at the ceiling, fists clenched. She didn't care that I worked myself half dead for this car. She didn't care that she humiliated me in front of her friends. What burned her was that for once, she was the one standing on the sidewalk and I was the one behind the wheel. The next morning, I walked into the break room at work and almost dropped my coffee. 2 of Marissa's friends, the same ones who had laughed at me before, had posted on Instagram. A picture of them at the curb, looking annoyed, captioned, "Waiting forever for our ride." Meanwhile, some guy thinks it's funny to rev his toy car at us. The comments were even worse. Their little crowd piling on. Compensating much? Imagine working that hard for that car, lol. I can't explain the heat that rushed through me. My ears were ringing, hands shaking so bad I almost spilled my mug. Because it wasn't just Marissa anymore. It was public. They were trying to turn me into the joke. I showed my buddy Kyle, 30 male, at work. He looked at the post, then looked at me. "Bro," he said, dead serious. "They're jealous. Straight up. Don't let them flip it on you." Jealous? I hadn't even considered that. But the more I thought about it, the more it clicked. None of them owned anything. They lived for Ubers, for Instagram clout, for being seen in someone else's luxury. I built mine, dollar by dollar. Still, the anger didn't fade. If anything, it grew. Because Marissa wasn't just mocking my car, she was mocking me. The guy who worked double shifts while she blew money on nails, drinks, and girls' trips. The guy who thought they were a team. That night, I told myself I'd confront her calmly. Just sit down, explain how much it hurt, and maybe, stupidly, hope she'd finally get it. Instead, when I walked into her apartment, I found her and her friends crowded around her phone, laughing at something. And when I asked what was so funny, it was a screenshot of my challenger from my own Facebook, captioned in their group chat. Imagine thinking this is impressive. The room went dead quiet when they realized I was standing there. My throat was dry, but the only words that came out were, "Get out of my life. Don't forget to subscribe." The silence in that room was like static. Marissa's friends froze, wide-eyed, and for once she wasn't smirking. She blinked at me, opened her mouth, then snapped it shut again like she was deciding which mask to wear. Finally, she scoffed. "You're being dramatic, Alex. It's just a joke." A joke. That word made something snap in me. For 2 years, I'd sweated through 16-hour days, dragging myself home too tired to even eat some nights, just to save enough for that car. And she thought it was a joke. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just looked at her and said, "Pack your things out of my apartment tomorrow. We're done." Her friends gasped like I'd slapped her. Marissa's face twisted instantly from fake calm to full-blown rage. She shot up from the couch, eyes wet, voice cracking into a shriek. "You're dumping me over a car? Over some piece of metal? Do you know how insane you sound?" I didn't move, didn't flinch. "I'm dumping you because you laughed at me for 2 years and called the thing I worked for embarrassing." That's when she lost it. She grabbed a wine glass off the coffee table and hurled it at the wall, where it exploded into glittering shards. One of her friends yelped. Another pulled out her phone like this was better than Netflix. Marissa stomped toward me, jabbing her finger into my chest. "You don't get to humiliate me like that in front of my friends. You're not better than me just because you drive some trashy car. You're pathetic." Every word felt like spitting acid. I clenched my jaw so tight my teeth ached. "Leave, Marissa." Instead, she shoved me. Not hard enough to hurt, but hard enough to make my blood surge. And then she screamed the thing that cut deeper than any shove. "No one even cares about your stupid car. Everyone laughs at you behind your back. You're a joke, Alex." Her friends were trying to pull her away now, voices nervous, eyes darting toward the smashed glass on the floor. I just stood there, shaking, staring at the woman I thought I loved turning into a stranger right in front of me. Finally, I grabbed my keys, walked past her, and slammed the door behind me. My ears were still ringing as I slid into my Challenger. The leather felt cool against my skin, the steering wheel steady in my grip, like the only solid thing left in my life. I drove aimlessly that night, engine roaring down empty streets, my thoughts a mess. But one thing was clear. Marissa wasn't just mean. She was dangerous. And the real nightmare started the next day. Because when I woke up, I found my car with 3 long, jagged scratches carved across the hood. The morning sun hit my eyes, and for half a second I forgot the chaos from the night before. Then I stepped outside and froze. My Challenger, the car I'd worked 2 years of double shifts for, looked like it had been mauled. 3 deep scratches ran down the hood, curling like someone had dragged a key across it with pure spite. My stomach dropped, then turned into this nauseating churn of rage and heartbreak. I knew exactly who had done it. Marissa. My hands were trembling as I snapped photos on my phone. Every angle, every inch of damage. Then I sat down on the curb, head in my hands. I felt like I was going to throw up. It wasn't just vandalism, it was a message. She wanted me to hurt. My neighbor, Mr. Lewis, mid-60s, retired mechanic, came out to grab his paper. He took one look and whistled low. "Damn, son, someone's pissed at you." He didn't need me to answer. He just shook his head. "File a report. Don't let this slide." So I did. At the police station, I gave them the pictures, told them about the fight, about Marissa's meltdown. The officer scribbled notes and nodded like he'd seen this play out 100 times. "We'll file it, but unless you catch her in the act or she confesses, it's hard to prove." Which meant Marissa would probably skate free. And of course, that night, my phone blew up again. Not just from her, but from her friends too. "You're seriously telling cops? Over a car? What kind of man does that? You're ruining her life because you can't handle a breakup. She's heartbroken, Alex, and you're trying to get her arrested? Sick." The audacity nearly made me laugh. Heartbroken? This was the same woman who mocked me for months, smashed a wine glass in rage, and keyed my hood out of spite. When I didn't respond, Marissa escalated. She showed up at my apartment 2 days later. Not alone. She brought her brother, Dylan, 23 male, the wannabe tough guy who still lived in his mom's basement. I was eating takeout when I heard the pounding on my door. Then Dylan's voice, "Open up, you coward." When I cracked the door, Marissa lunged forward, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "You called the cops on me? For a car? You think you're better than me, Alex?" Dylan puffed his chest. "Touch my sister again, and we'll handle it ourselves." I almost laughed, because I had never once laid a hand on her. Not in anger, not ever. But there he was, trying to posture like I was the abuser. Neighbors started peeking out their doors. Mr. Lewis called down from his balcony. "Already called the cops, kid. Better back off." That's when Marissa snapped again. She grabbed one of my patio chairs and hurled it into the parking lot, screaming, "You don't deserve that car. You don't deserve anything." The cops rolled up 10 minutes later, lights flashing. By then, Marissa and Dylan were already gone, tires screeching into the night. But I knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning, because Marissa had crossed every line. She went after my car, my home, my peace. And if she wanted a war, I was done playing defense. I was going to make sure the next move was mine. Don't forget to subscribe. Update. Wow. I didn't expect this to blow up. I posted about Marissa and the Challenger a few days ago just to vent. And now I'm sitting here scrolling through thousands of comments. Half of you were hyped for me. Half were begging me to ditch the girl before she keys your soul too. And one guy straight up told me to burn sage in the car to remove her bad juju. Not gonna lie, I actually thought about it. Some of y'all had me laughing. One comment said, "Bro, she called it embarrassing because she knows she could never work hard enough to earn something like that. Keep your car, lose the dead weight." That hit. Others were harsher. I got a DM saying I was toxic for flexing the car in front of her friends. Like, what? She mocked me for months. I drove past in my own car. That's not flexing. That's existing. But here's the kicker. Y'all were right about her escalating. The scratches on my hood weren't the end. Since that night with the cops, she's been on a tear. Fake crying to mutual friends, telling everyone I was abusive, that I controlled her with money. Which is hilarious, considering she lived rent-free half the time and I was the one eating dollar menu burgers while saving every penny. And the craziest part? Those same friends who laughed at me before? They've been DMing me now, saying stuff like, "Hey, you know she didn't mean it like that," or "She's just hurt, you should talk it out." One even had the nerve to ask if I could give them a ride to a party this weekend, in the Challenger. The hypocrisy makes me want to scream. They laugh when I struggle, then beg when I shine. So yeah, I've decided. I'm done being the joke in this story. Marissa wanted to humiliate me, drag me, Turn me into the insecure guy who only had a cheap car. Instead, I'm going to flip this entire thing back on her. And I'm not talking about calling the cops again. I'm talking about revenge that she won't be able to laugh off, because she picked the wrong thing to mock, the one thing I bled for. And now? She's going to choke on her own words. The thing about revenge is it only works if it cuts where it hurts most. And for Marissa, it wasn't about money. It was about image, status, being seen in the right places with the right people in the right car. So I gave her exactly what she wanted. The Friday after that update, one of Marissa's friends, Kayla, 25 female, hit me up. She wanted a ride downtown with her and two others because Ubers were all surge pricing. I almost ignored it, but then the idea landed in my head like a lightning strike. This was it. My chance. So I said yes. When I pulled up outside the bar, they came pouring out in their heels and glittery dresses, squealing like teenagers when they saw the Challenger. The same car they'd laughed at weeks earlier. Suddenly, it wasn't cheap anymore. It was so hot. And oh my God, can we take a selfie in it? I played it cool. Let them climb in, windows down, engine growling as I cruised through the strip where every patio was packed with people. Kayla leaned forward from the back seat, yelling over the roar, "See, Alex, this is what you should have been doing, showing it off." I almost laughed because I wasn't showing it off for them. I was setting the stage. When I pulled up to the club, there was a line snaking around the corner, bouncers checking IDs. Dozens of eyes turned as I revved the engine and rolled up slow. I spotted Marissa instantly. She was in line with Dylan and another friend, clutching her phone, full face of makeup like she was auditioning for some reality show. Her jaw dropped the second she saw who was driving. And then, just to twist the knife, Kayla screamed out the window, "Thanks for the ride, Alex, you're the best." The crowd parted like a wave as the girls climbed out, laughing, posing against the car for selfies. Marissa stood frozen, face blotchy red under the streetlights. I saw her mouth something, looked like unbelievable, before she turned and stormed to the back of the line. I didn't even linger. I just peeled off, tires squealing, letting the sound echo down the block. That moment should have been enough. I should have felt satisfied. But as I drove home, adrenaline still pumping, I realized I wasn't done. Because later that night, my phone lit up again. "Marissa. So now you're chauffeuring my friends around to get back at me? Real mature. Enjoy your little toy car, Alex. Everyone still thinks you're pathetic." But here's the thing. She wasn't just mad, she was scared. Scared because for the first time her control slipped. She couldn't laugh me into silence anymore. That's when I knew. One more move. One final strike, not just for her, but for every friend she weaponized against me. And it had to be public. The kind of payback that would make sure every single person who laughed at me remembered it for years. I couldn't sleep after that night. My phone buzzed nonstop with her insults, her friends chiming in with fake sympathy, people I barely knew trying to drag me. But underneath all the noise, I kept circling back to one thought. If she wanted to turn me into a joke, then I'd make the punchline hers. The plan came together faster than I expected. Every Friday, there's a car meet at the old mall lot. Dozens of muscle cars, imports, classics. I'd gone a few times before, always just a face in the crowd. But that week, I messaged the organizer and asked if I could park center row. Told him I had a Challenger I'd been restoring for years. He said, "Hell yeah, bring it." So Friday night, I polished every inch of that car until the hood gleamed like glass. I even taped over the scratches she'd carved, leaving them faintly visible. A scar, but mine. Proof of what I'd survived. And then I sent Marissa a text. Simple. "Since you think my car's so embarrassing, come see for yourself tonight." She didn't reply. But I knew she'd come. Marissa was addicted to being seen, even in places she claimed were beneath her. When I pulled into the lot, engines were already rumbling, bass shaking the ground. People were lined up with their hoods open, chrome flashing under the lights. I parked dead center, let the Challenger idle with that deep growl that always turns heads. Within minutes, a crowd formed. Compliments, questions, strangers asking if they could snap pics with it. And then, right on cue, Marissa appeared. Dylan trailing behind her, scowling like a lost puppy. Her friends in tow, dressed up like they'd wandered in from a bar. She looked around, obviously expecting to laugh. Except she couldn't. Not when she saw how many people were gathered around my car, nodding, admiring, even asking if I'd done the work myself. That's when I stepped forward. Loud enough for everyone to hear, I said, "This is the cheap and embarrassing car my ex told everyone about. The one I worked double shifts for while she spent her money on bottle service and Instagram posts." The lot went quiet, then filled with murmurs. Heads turned toward Marissa. Her face went crimson. "Alex, stop," she hissed, but I didn't. "You called it a joke, but guess what? People actually respect hard work here. Not fake status, not pretending to be rich. Real effort." Dylan tried to puff his chest, but a guy in the crowd barked, "Then why's your sister even here?" And laughter rippled through the rows. Marissa spun on her heel and stormed off, shoving through the crowd. Dylan followed, cursing under his breath. Her friends didn't even move at first. They were too busy taking pictures of the challenger. And in that moment, I felt it. The shift. She wasn't the one telling the story anymore. I was. Update 2. Well, that escalated fast. I didn't plan on posting again, but the fallout from the car meet has been insane. And honestly, y'all deserve the follow-up because half of you called it shot for shot. So yeah, she showed up. Marissa couldn't resist. I parked center lot, people gathered, and when I dropped the line about her calling my car cheap and embarrassing, the look on her face, priceless. She bolted. Dylan tried to bark at me, but ended up looking like a wannabe mall cop while everyone laughed. Here's where it gets wild. Videos. Apparently, half the crowd was filming. By the next morning, clips of Marissa storming off were all over TikTok and Instagram. Some of the captions were brutal. "When you roast his car, and the whole car meet roasts you back." Imagine clowning your man's ride, then begging for a lift in the same model. One video hit 300K views in 2 days. My challenger, instant local celebrity. And Marissa? She's unraveling. She texted me paragraphs about how I ruined her reputation, that I plotted to humiliate her publicly. Like, did she forget the part where she humiliated me first? She even tried DMing some of the car meet organizers to say I staged it to bully her. They just blocked her. Her friends, yeah, the same ones who laughed at me, have been backpedaling hard. One actually messaged me, "We always thought the car was cool, we were just teasing." Right? Teasing doesn't keep paint off a hood. The best part? Mutuals started pulling away from her. Apparently, no one wants to be associated with that girl who trashed her boyfriend for working hard. The narrative flipped overnight, and I didn't even have to force it. All I did was shine a light on the truth. Some of you warned me she'd escalate, and maybe you're right. But honestly, I'm not even scared anymore. She already threw everything at me. Words, lies, vandalism, even dragging her brother. And still, I'm standing here with the car I earned and a whole community that respects it. For the first time in months, I feel proud again. Not just of the challenger, but of myself. I stopped letting her write the story. And now? She has to live with the ending she wrote for herself. After the videos went viral, I thought maybe Marissa would crawl into hiding for a while. But nope. If anything, she doubled down. 3 days after the car meet, she showed up at my job. I was clocking out when I heard my name echo across the parking lot. There she was, hair a mess, sunglasses on even though it was cloudy, tears streaking her cheeks. Dylan wasn't with her this time. She came alone. "Alex, please," she said, voice shaking. "We can fix this. I was wrong, okay? I didn't mean it like that." I stood there, arms crossed, my coworkers lingering behind me. They'd all seen the videos. Hell, half of them were the ones sending me links to the memes. "You keyed my car," I said flatly. "You laughed at me for months. You dragged your brother to threaten me. What part of that looks fixable?" Her face crumpled. "I was angry. I didn't think you'd take it this far. You turned everyone against me." That's when something clicked for me. She wasn't apologizing because she cared. She was apologizing because her image was wrecked. She couldn't stand being the villain in a story that everyone could now see. I didn't yell, didn't curse, just looked her dead in the eye and said, "You did that all by yourself." She sobbed harder, actually dropped to her knees in the middle of the parking lot. Please, Alex, I can't be alone. You don't understand what it's like. I cut her off. I do. I worked 2 years alone, saving every dime, because no one else understood. You laughed at that. You laughed at me. My manager came outside, gave me a look like, do you need me to call security? I shook my head. Marissa staggered up, mascara running like black rivers, and stormed off when she realized I wasn't budging. That night, my phone lit up again. Not texts this time, posts. She uploaded this long, tearful rant to Instagram Live about being betrayed by someone she gave everything to. Her followers weren't buying it. The comments section shredded her. One person even tagged me. Isn't this the girl from the Challenger video? She ended the stream early. The truth was out there now. No matter how much she twisted, no one believed her anymore. But the next day, she tried one last desperate move. I came out to my apartment complex at sunrise and found my car covered in sticky notes. Hundreds of them, plastered across every inch of the body. Most said, I'm sorry. Some said, take me back. A few were just hearts drawn in pink marker. For a second, I almost laughed at how ridiculous it looked. But then I peeled one off and realized the glue had left faint residue on the paint. She'd tried to turn an apology into yet another act of destruction, and that's when I knew for sure. Marissa wasn't coming back from this. Not with me, not with anyone, because she couldn't love anything she couldn't control. By the time I peeled the last sticky note off the Challenger, my hands were shaking. Not from anger this time, just exhaustion. It hit me then. This wasn't about the car anymore. It never really was. The Challenger was just the mirror. It showed me who I was and who Marissa had always been. I spent that whole Saturday detailing the car. Soap, wax, buffing out the faint residue until the hood gleamed again. Neighbors walked by, nodding, a few even clapping my shoulder. Looks good, man. Don't let her ruin it. And when I finally stood back, the sun hitting the red paint just right, I felt something I hadn't in months. Peace. Marissa tried reaching out one last time. A voicemail, shaky and tearful. I just wanted us to be happy, Alex. You don't know what you've done to me. Please. I don't want to be the bad guy. But the thing is, she was the bad guy. And for once, I didn't feel guilty about letting her drown in the mess she made. I blocked her number, deleted the message, and sat behind the wheel of the Challenger. The leather felt solid again, not like a wound, but like armor. I turned the key, engine rumbling steady and low, and let it idle while I just breathed. All the nights I spent working double shifts, all the times I wanted to quit but didn't. It wasn't for her approval. It wasn't for anyone's. It was for me, to prove that I could carry something from dream to reality, no matter how long it took. And, yeah, Marissa mocked it, tried to destroy it, even tried to destroy me with it. But she failed. Because in the end, I'm still here. With the car I built my life around. With the respect of people who actually understand hard work. And without her shadow dragging behind me anymore. As I drove out that night, windows down, city lights flickering past, I caught my reflection in a storefront glass. Just me, the Challenger, and silence. And for the first time in 2 years, I smiled without bitterness. The car was never cheap. The mistake was thinking she was worth riding shotgun.